His Majesty Sultan received a phone call from the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Spain to discuss current developments in the region. On the sixth day of the war, Israel and the United States strike against targets in Tehran and other Iranian cities as Iran's Revolutionary Guard says its attacks hit targets inside Israel. Israeli airstrikes hit Beirut's southern suburbs, while Hezbollah says it thwarted Israeli infiltration attempts in the town of Khiam. And oil prices surpassed $94 per barrel amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. Those are the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq received a phone call today from His Excellency Pedro Sanchez, Prime Minister of the Friendly Kingdom of Spain, concerning the current situation in the region resulting from the Israeli-American attacks on the Republic of Iran and the repercussions of these attacks on the interests of the countries of the region and the world at large. During the call, the two sides emphasized on the necessity of concerted regional and international efforts to end the ongoing conflict, halt the escalation, and resort to dialogue and peaceful means in order to preserve the resources, sovereignty, and safety of nations and their peoples. His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad al-Busaidi, the Foreign Minister, affirmed that the Sultan of Oman is working to organize flights to repatriate residents in the GCC countries to their home countries in cooperation with governments and international allies. In a post on X platform, His Excellency called on anyone wishing to return to their homeland from GCC countries to take advantage of these arrangements regardless of their passports. He stressed that citizens of all countries have a humanitarian right to security and safety, and he called for an immediate end to the war. Several Gulf Cooperation Council countries are dealing with more attacks on their territories. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia announced today that it had intercepted and destroyed 3 drones east of Al-Kharj Governorate. The Emirates News Agency wrote that air defenses successfully intercepted a drone over the capital Abu Dhabi, which led to 6 people being injured due to the falling debris. Meanwhile, the Qatari Ministry of Defense announced that its air defenses intercepted a missile attack, and the Kuwaiti Ministry of Interior also reported that an explosion occurred near Mubarak al-Kabir port, confirming that the incident took place outside Kuwait's territorial waters. Escalating tensions in the Middle East continue to raise international concern as the confrontation between Iran and the United States and Israel intensifies. Here is the latest developments.
Tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate as the war between Iran, the United States, and Israel enters a new and dangerous phase. The crisis intensified after a large-scale joint military campaign by Washington and Tel Aviv targeting Iranian military infrastructure and strategic sites across the country. The strikes began on February 28th as part of a coordinated operation aimed at weakening Iran's missile and defense capabilities. In one of the most dramatic developments, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was killed in an airstrike in Tehran targeting senior leadership figures. Iranian authorities confirmed his death and declared a period of national mourning, while a temporary leadership council was formed to manage the country's political transition. Since then, fighting has rapidly spread across the region. Iranian forces have launched waves of ballistic missiles and drones targeting Israeli territory and United States military bases across the Gulf. Several attacks have also targeted American facilities in Iraq and other regional locations. Israel and the United States say they have carried out thousands of strikes on Iranian military positions, including missile launch sites and command centers, as they attempt to reduce Tehran's ability to retaliate. The conflict is also affecting neighboring countries. Israel has expanded operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon, while regional governments are on high alert as drones and missiles cross multiple airspaces. And international calls for de-escalation grow louder. Analysts warn that continued retaliation could draw more countries into the conflict and further destabilize an already volatile region.
Israeli airstrikes have intensified along the Lebanon-Israeli front, triggering a new wave of displacement across southern Lebanon. Residents say evacuation warnings issued by the Israeli military forces forced many families to flee overnight as strikes continued in early hours of the morning. By dawn, large numbers of displaced people had begun arriving in nearby towns after leaving their homes with little time to prepare. Lebanon's health ministry says 2 Israeli airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburb killed 8 people. The Israeli military says the strikes targeted Hezbollah facilities, including command centers linked to the group's aerial units. Hezbollah, meanwhile, says it launched rockets to several locations inside Israel and reported clashes with Israeli ground forces attempting to advance near the town of Khiyam. The United States Senate has failed to pass a resolution seeking to rein in U.S. President Donald Trump's war with Iran. U.S. Senate Republicans backed President Donald Trump's military campaign against Iran yesterday, voting to block a bipartisan resolution aiming to stop the air war and require that any hostilities against Iran be authorized by Congress. The Senate voted 53 to 47 not to advance the resolution, largely along party lines, with all but one Republican voting against the procedural motion and all but one Democrat supporting it. The latest effort by Democrats and a few Republicans is to rein the President Donald Trump's repeated foreign troop deployments. Members of the House debated a similar Iran war powers resolution and are expected to vote on it today. Turning to oil markets developments, Oman oil price for May delivery rose today by more than $8, reaching $94.47 per barrel. Global oil prices also recorded an increase of more than 3% as a result of escalating tensions in the Middle East. Brent crude reached $83.84 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose by more than $2.40, bringing the price per barrel to over $77. Total revenues of OQ Exploration and Production Company last year reached 1,200 million Omani riyals, with a net profit of approximately 657 million Omani riyals. More in the following reports.
1,200 million Omani riyals is the total revenues of OQ Exploration and Production Company, OQEP. This is according to its audited financial results for last year. Meanwhile, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization reached 941 million Omani riyals, with a net profit of approximately 657 million Omani riyals. Despite the decline in average oil prices last year by around $10 per barrel, equivalent to 12.5% year-on-year, the company still succeeded in increasing its sales of oil and condensates to about 1,400,000 barrels, which significantly offset the revenue affected by the price decline. Meanwhile, adjusted cash flows from operations recorded a growth of 7.5%, exceeding $500 million Omani Rials. The return on operating capital reached 51%, and the total cash dividends distributed to shareholders amounted to 275 million Omani Rials. On the other hand, OQ Exploration and Production has made significant progress in developing its portfolio of high-quality assets in the concession area number 60 under the expansion project for the Bisatsi station. The production capacity for oil processing has risen to 95,000 barrels per day. In addition to processing water at a capacity exceeding 800,000 barrels per day, work is still ongoing in the Mursa project to supply ships with liquefied natural gas (LNG) with an achievement ratio of about 40%. Currently, OQEP is striving to develop a growth strategy to increase its production capacity to approximately 300,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day by 2030, with a balanced mechanism that combines local growth and global expansion through mergers and acquisitions.
You're watching the Sound of Oman television. We're going to tonight's bulletin. Here are the main points once again. His Majesty the Sultan received a phone call from the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Spain to discuss current developments in the region. On the sixth day of the war, Israel and the United States strike against targets in Tehran and other Iranian cities as Iran's Revolutionary Guard said its attacks hit targets inside Israel. Israeli strikes hit Beirut's southern suburbs, while Hezbollah says it thwarted Israeli infiltration attempts in the town of Khiyam. And oil prices surpassed $94 per barrel amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. And that's all from the newsroom. From all the crew here, myself, Kendi. Have a good weekend. Good night.